Okay guys, today we're going to talk about how we can write an exponential equation when we're given 2 points that aren't necessarily right next to each other, so we can't just find the multiplier. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with these 2 points here, 296 and 6144. And we want to write the equation in the form of y equals a times b to the power of x. So we're going to start by writing this equation, filling in the x and the y. We don't know what a and b are yet, so we're just going to set up our equations. We're going to start with the one that's going to have the bigger x value. So that would be 5 in this case. So we're going to do y, which is 6144, equals a times b to the power of 5. And then we're going to divide that by our second equation, which is going to be 96 equals a times b to the power of 2. Again, I'm just taking these points. This is my x value. This is my y value. Again, 5 was my x value. 6144 was my y value. So that's how we set up our 2 equations. The reason we're going to divide is because what our goal is to eliminate one of the parameters. In this case, we're going to eliminate the a because it's the easiest to eliminate. When you divide a by a, you get 1. So that's ideal for our situation. And the nice thing about exponentials is that will work every single time. So it's not quite like linears where we have to decide what we're going to solve for. A will cancel out every time if we divide. So we're going to take our 6144 equals a b to the power of 5, and we're going to divide that by 96 equals a b to the power of 2. A divided by a is just 1, so those go ahead and cancel out like we were talking about. And then we're going to divide 6144 by 96, and that gets us 64. And then when you divide with fractions, remember that means we subtract. So this becomes b to the 5th minus 2, also known as b to the 3rd. So we get 64 equals b to the 3rd. Okay, so in order to solve for b, we need to take the cube root. That's the opposite of cubing something. So when we take the cube root of 64, we get 4. 4 equals b. Okay, how you do that in the calculator? You're going to go ahead and press 3 Math 5 in your graphing calculator at school, and that will give you a cube root, and then you're going to plug in the value of 64. There'll be another video for just that later showing you how it works in the calculator. So now we have b equals 4. That was actually this step here. Okay, so now we're going to plug that value back into one of our equations. I'm going to go ahead and plug it into our 64 equals a b to the power of 3, and b again was 4 to the power of 3. Okay, so when we do, oops, it was b squared, not cubed. Let's fix that real quick. It was b squared in the original equation, so squared. Okay, so we get 64 equals a times 16. To undo that multiplication, I'm going to divide, and I get that a equals 6. So now we know that our equation, filling in our a value and our b value that we found, will be y equals 6 times 4 to the power of x. And that's how we solve for an exponential equation when we're given 2 points that aren't next to each other. Okay, so let's look at a word problem real quick and see if we can do the same thing. So on day 3 of the zombie apocalypse, there were 135 zombies in Camarillo. By day 6, there were 3,645 zombies. We want to write an equation that represents this. So the first thing we need to do is figure out what our points are. So the days are going to represent our x values, and the number of zombies will be our y values. So this first point we have is going to be 3 is our x. On day 3, we have 135 zombies. That's our first point. Our second point is going to be on day 6, we have 3,645 zombies. Okay, so now we have 2 points. We're going to do exactly the same thing that we did on the last set of problems. So we're going to take our first point, always starting with our bigger x value, remember? So we're going to take 3,645, the y value, equals, I don't know what a is yet, I don't know what b is yet, but we know that x is 6 when y is 3,645. Then we're going to divide this by 135 equals a b to the power of 3. Okay, so again, that's right here. The goal is to eliminate the a value. Okay, so let's do this and solve for b. 3,645 equals a times b to the power of 6 over 135 equals a b to the power of 3. Again, our a's cancel out, which will happen every single time, which is why this is nice. And then we just divide. When we divide 3,645 by 135, we get 27. 27 equals b to the power of 6 minus 3, because we subtract the exponents when we divide. So we get 27 equals b to the power of 3. So now we want to take the cube root of 27, cube root of b cubed, so that the b cubed cancels out and we just get b. The cube root of 27 is 3. 3 equals b. Okay, again, in your calculator, you're going to type 3, the root you want, the cube root, math. Then you're going to press 5, and it will convert that to a cube root, and then you're going to put in the number 27. We'll do that again later. Okay, so now we're going to plug in b into one of our equations and solve for a. I'm going to use the smaller numbers because it makes my life a little bit easier. So I'm going to do 135 equals, I still don't know what a is. I'm going to solve for that. 3 to the power of 3. Well, we already know 3 to the power of 3 is 27, so I get 135 equals 27 times a. Now to undo that, I'm going to divide by 27, and I get a equals 5. So now I'm just going to plug that back in to my form of my equation, y equals a b to the power of x, plugging in what I know to be a and b. Y equals 5 times 3 to the power of x. So what does this mean? Well, this means that on day 1 or day 0 of the zombie apocalypse, we had 5 zombies, and they're increasing by a rate of 3 times. Every single output is going to triple. So this is going to make our population grow really rapidly, which is why on day 6, we already had 3,645 zombies.